God and he on my side. That's the confidence I got, cause he got me. That's why I really feel like
Six, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, run! Wow! You got this, girl. See, get ready. No. I just throw the rabbit awesome. In the. You are good. All right, Robbie. If you guys come in. Tapping is a hobby, that's the way for me. Corral C, get ready. I just had to buy another set. Come on. Being the Spurs and Phantom Jordan fade away. This is a wonderful crowd. Concerning energy. I like it. We'd like to thank Phil Wright, Autoplex, for sponsoring us today. As well as Blackstone Construction for the wonderful payment we're leaving right on. Thank you. We appreciate it. You got this. I believe it. I believe in you. You're good. We'll see you with 13 rides.
On Saturday, April 22, 2017, in Russellville, Arkansas, the 4th annual RussVegas Half Marathon was held. This half marathon provides an opportunity to help those we love by supporting the Arkansas Children's Hospital. This year, the race raised over $70,000 to benefit the Arkansas Children's Hospital.
My name is Dylan Rutherford. I'm 24 years old, and I'm a student at Arkansas Tech University. I've been living in Russellville for like 6 years now. I grew up in Ozark, Arkansas, and my family's all originally from Kansas. I was born in Bartlesville, Oklahoma, and by about the age of probably 3 years old, I was living in Caney and Coffeyville, Kansas, and my parents started to notice that there was something wrong with me because I was slow to walk. I was slow to sit up when I was a baby. I didn't really have any cognitive problems, but I was kind of showing some physical problems, so they kind of thought, well, maybe his development's just slow. So as I started kind of walking and running later on, they really noticed something was wrong because I tended to fall a lot. I kind of showed a weakness in my lower extremities and my lower limbs. My balance was kind of an issue, so they were like, well, we should probably take him in. So I went to some doctors and some physicians and stuff, and then they sent me on to specialists. And by the time I was 5, we had just moved to Arkansas because my uncle works in the oil field. And my mom and my aunt were best friends, so we decided to move to Arkansas as well.
Scattered all along the 13.1 downtown miles are spirit stations with over 300 volunteers there to remind the runners of why they are running and to keep up their motivation to finish the race for the children in need, a cause that is so much greater than themselves. The RussVegas Half Marathon is a nonprofit that raises money for Arkansas Children's Hospital through the Polk County Circle of Friends Children's Miracle Network. If a runner decides to register as an Arkansas Children's Hospital Angel, their registration fee is waived and is either assigned to a team or flies solo to fundraise at least $150 to benefit the Arkansas Children's Hospital.
By the time I was 5 years old, we made our first trip to Arkansas Children's Hospital in Little Rock. We were living in Ozark at the time. It was about halfway through kindergarten. And I had seen some different specialists and everything. We made a trip down there, and I had a lot of tests done on me. One of the tests that I can remember was I just had a lot of blood tests and things like that at that age, just drawing blood, pretty simple stuff. And they decided that what they thought I had was motor sensory distal neuropathy, which is kind of a nerve disease. So they put braces on my legs and did some different things, so I had to wear braces to school, like Forrest Gump style. But I had little camo braces. And it wouldn't really slow me down from playing and stuff, but it did, kind of affect the way I could play on the playground and stuff like that. So basically, we went back for some other checkups, and my doctor was figuring out that these braces weren't helping. I wasn't showing any progress of these braces. So he's like, if you can clean your room by yourself, then you can take these braces off. And I was like, what? Okay, I guess I can take them off then. So let me take the braces off. So I went to a few more doctors, and everything was kind of a dead end, and they thought that I had nerve disease. So I didn't go back to the doctors. And I grew up kind of playing sports. I love baseball. I love to play football and basketball, but baseball was my passion. It was my favorite sport, and I was pretty good at it. So, over time, I got a little bit better at like running and walking and jumping and stuff like that, but I was still very slow. I tripped a lot. If you saw me walk upstairs, I struggled walking upstairs. I had to put my hands on my legs. I couldn't just go upstairs walking on two legs. So sometimes I might have to get on all fours to walk upstairs when I was little. So I'd kind of have to bear crawl or really push off my knee really hard. But if it was big steps, I pretty much just bear crawled on all fours. And then walking up hills, like I really struggled with steep hills especially. So I I kind of found a way to overcome it, and I played sports all through middle school and junior high, and I was getting to be a pretty good little baseball pitcher. I didn't throw hard, but I was accurate. But one thing we noticed about my disease was I threw a little bit maybe harder when I was smaller than I did when I was older because it progressed. So by about the time of 14 or 15, I was getting heavy into sports, and I really wanted to see if there was something that could help me because I wanted to perform at a higher level. I was kind of working my tail off to, be the best I could be at sports, but I wanted a little bit more. I was like, that's kind of what really drove me to ask my mom to go back to the doctors. So when I was 14 or 15, I was like, hey, Mom, I think I need to go to the doctor. And she's like, no, there's kind of no use in it, and we're not really going to do it. And I just kept kind of hounding her about it, and she's like, I could tell she really didn't want to go through all the stress of it again. And I mean, I understood that she didn't, but we had to find some answers. And I was getting to that age where I needed to know what the heck was wrong with me.
Excuse me.
Great job, way to finish strong. Sean Phillips, congratulations. You finished. Come on, ladies, I see you. You're almost there.
Way to go. Good job. Hey, you guys are looking good.
Good job. Way to finish strong. Come on, ladies,
So we went back to Arkansas Children's, and we did some checkups and some different things. And they, I believe it was like at the age of 15, they misdiagnosed me again. And it was with a wrong form of muscular dystrophy, kind of a more severe form of muscular dystrophy. So one thing that happened at Children's, that was kind of tough because I was like, ooh, it kind of hit me hard. They kind of told me that I probably wasn't going to live, past 35 or so, maybe 30. If I was lucky, and then I'd probably be in a wheelchair by the time I was 27, 28, something like that. So it kind of made my teenage years a little bit tough right through there, because I started kind of living my life like there was no tomorrow, because they gave me a misdiagnosis, and I thought I was going to have a really short life, so I kind of started living every day like it was my last, which I really don't regret now that I'm older. I'm kind of glad that I lived like that when I did, because it made me want to experience more things in life. So I had to battle a lot of adversity through that time, and I just kind of put it all into sports and fishing and things like that, but mostly into sports. Kind of put a lot of heart into it, and that was kind of the way I coped with it. And, you know, it was really tough on my mom through that time. It was really hard for her to bear, because she never wanted to think of having to, you know, put her child in the ground before she ever passed away or something. So that was really tough on her. But by this time, Arkansas Children's had gotten a lot better. When I was first going to Arkansas Children's as a 5 and 6 year old, it was a very scary place for children. It had a lot of old equipment and old buildings in Little Rock, and it just looked kind of spooky, and the old equipment was kind of scary, and there wasn't any like real visually appealing things like what you see in there now. Well, now that they remodeled the children's hospital, you see giraffe paintings and playgrounds and all kinds of visually happy, appealing things for these kids, which now that I'm older, I think that's awesome, because that would have been cool to have when I was little, but I'm glad the kids that go to Children's have it there now, because they've done some really neat stuff, and those kids are going through so much at the time that people can't even imagine, how hard it is on their little minds. But it's nice when a sick kid can come out and see some happy paintings, or when a kid thinks, man, there's something wrong with me, but they come out and they see a happy environment, happy nurses, and nurses hug them and tell them that they love them, and they feel loved, and their family supports them, and the community supports them. So Children's has really stepped up their game, and more importantly, I think the community around Children's has really stepped up its game as far as, helping out with things. I know there's been a ton of community involvement with Children's here in the past decade, and you can really see a difference in their changing lives down there in Little Rock right now. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They don't, Children's isn't taking breaks for holidays and things like that. Someone's always on staff ready for whatever. So after I was misdiagnosed, we decided to try something else, and we decided to go to Shriners. And if you don't know what Shriners is, it's a non-profit hospital that's volunteer-based, but you kind of have to either get a signature of a Shriner, or maybe know someone that donates, that's what they call a Shriner, is someone who donates to Shriners Hospital. So kind of people that are a little bit better off, or have a good enough financial stability to be able to make donations and make a difference that way. So one of my best friends, Trent Crispin, his grandpa, Robert Crispin, actually signed off for me to go to Shriners, and Robert was my neighbor, and he was also from my hometown in Ozark, Arkansas. So he signed off, and I went to Shriners in Shreveport, Louisiana, and I did some different testing down there, and some different therapies, and some physical therapies and stuff, and they couldn't really figure out what was wrong with me down there, although they tried really hard, which that was a kind of a neat place too. But so I had to come back to Children's. They're like, we can't really do anything for you. Children's is probably going to be your best bet. They have kind of, the Children's always had the latest technology as far as medical stuff went for a children's hospital or a kid's hospital. When it came to neurology center, they always had the latest technology and stuff like that. So I had to be somewhere where the equipment was, modern equipment, because we were starting to figure out my disease might be kind of rare if they keep getting it wrong. So I went back to Children's and got a really good team of doctors by the time I was 16, and this was the best team of doctors I'd ever had. So you could tell how much improvement Children's had made, not only with their infrastructure but with their staff over the years. The doctors they have now, they just perform at an incredibly high level, and they care a lot. and they're very, very intelligent people. They have some of the best doctors in the world there. So we went back, and they finally did some tests on me. I got a muscle biopsy, which is where they cut muscle out of my leg, and they sent it off to Iowa State, I believe it was, medical research, and then somewhere in Virginia, maybe, for another research. It was at another research university in their medical department, but they sent my muscle tissue off for studies, and then I did what they call, I just basically called it shock testing. I don't know what the real name is for it, but they take a needle and they stick it into your leg, and then they tap it down with a hammer and they shock you, and they test at different layers of your muscles the responsiveness, like your reflexes. So they'll take this needle and they'll stick it in your thigh, and they'll shock you, and then they'll tap it down a little deeper and then shock you again, tap it a little deeper and shock you again. Well, this shock treatment, or this shock test, was the most painful thing I've ever endured in my life, but it was also one of the highest, technologies that hospitals had at the time. This was kind of the last means necessary thing. So they shocked me a bunch, and that was it was not the best, but they helped me through it because the nursing staff was so awesome there. So something that was very unpleasant, Children's helped a lot to make it a little bit easier for me, especially emotionally and psychologically. Because you could endure the pain, but I know a lot of the kids, it's not so much as the physical pain, it's the emotional torment that they go through with these illnesses and diseases. That's the worst thing, and they do a really good job of helping kids through that at Children's Hospital. So I was eventually diagnosed with Desmond myofibrillar myopathy, which is basically a mild form of muscular dystrophy, and it's a very, very, very rare form. Like, as far as I know, it's like less than 100 people in the world, I believe. And I could be wrong about that because I haven't looked into it since I was younger. But they finally pinpointed my disease as far as we know, and they went to all measures to do so. I mean, we worked years and years over it, and they had a team of, at one point in time, over 11 doctors that were helping, and Children's even. The few doctors that were helping me at Children's, they were emailing and sending my medical paperwork to other doctors all around the country. So that's one thing special that Children's will do. If they can't find the answer, they'll try to get help for someone who can find the answer for these kids.